DocTalk is brought to you by Merck Animal Health. At Merck Animal Health, we're shaping the future of animal health with pioneering science, connected technology, and insights-driven solutions to bring our customers an unparalleled portfolio of choices to improve cattle care and operational efficiency. We support you and your legacy by helping you meet the challenges of today with the innovations of tomorrow.
Hey folks, welcome to DocTalk. We're going to have a great show today. We're going to talk about replacement heifers, heifer development, and much more with Dr. Jason Warner at Kansas State University. He is their cow-calf extension specialist. Please stay tuned, and we're glad you joined us.
When you spot BRD in your cattle, that's your golden opportunity to target infection and its associated fever with a single dose of Resflor Gold, the industry standard dual therapy. To learn more, talk to your Merck Animal Health rep or your vet and see label at resflorgold.com. Animals intended for human consumption must not be slaughtered within 38 days of treatment. This product is not approved for use in female dairy cattle 20 months of age or older, including dry dairy cows.
Hey folks, welcome to DocTalk. We have a special guest today, Dr. Jason Warner, who's an assistant professor here at Kansas State University in the Department of Animal Sciences and Industry. And he is an extension cow-calf specialist and is so great to have you on the show. And we're so glad you're at K-State.
Dr. Thompson, thanks for the opportunity to be here. It's great to visit with you today. Appreciate it very much.
You bet. It's been a long time coming, getting a person in this position, and a lot of us are excited within the state and very thankful that you chose to work with us and the producers. Great things are going to come from Jason and his program, and we're really excited to be here. So thanks again.
Well, appreciate it. Thanks for the compliment. And we have a tremendous amount of very wonderful producers across the state that are some of the top tier beef cattle producers in the country. And it's wonderful to have the opportunity to serve those folks and serve them through our extension and our research missions that we have here at Kansas State, and looking forward to what the future holds.
You bet.
Certainly.
You bet. So we're going to talk about we're the cycle that we're in with the beef industry. We're going to talk about people are now looking to start rebuilding the cow herd, and it sounds simple, just retain heifers, right? But there's a few things with the feed prices and how much these cattle are worth and that you really have to consider.
I think it's safe to say that we are in a time period now within the industry that is really, I would say, unforeseen for most of the producers, not only around the state here within Kansas, but across the country as well. Just the increase in cattle prices that we've seen, particularly the last 4 or 5 months, coupled with some of the challenges that we've had around the country with regards to drought and feed prices and that sort of thing. But certainly we've got a very, I would say, mixed bag of conditions that producers are going to be working through here over the next several months and making some key decisions when it comes to, do we go ahead and pull the trigger on keeping more of these females back and expanding our numbers with the idea that we're looking at fairly high calf prices going into the foreseeable future. So I think a lot of things that are certainly on the forefront of people's minds here as we come into the time of the year where a lot of people are going to be making replacement heifer selection decisions. Just a lot of variable conditions for folks to be navigating through certainly this year. Yeah.
So when you start out and someone says, hey, Dr. Warner, we've only been retaining 10, 20%. We're thinking about retaining 50% of our heifers this year. How do you start that conversation?
Yeah, I think number one is, can we cash flow it, right?
Yep.
Because if we decide to go ahead and keep that many females back, are they going to be part of a yearling enterprise for us potentially next year? One of the challenges with replacement heifers, it's 2 years before she brings a profit back for us, or at least a cash income back for us from the investment that we make into her, unless we sell her as an open female that first breeding season. And so those are some things that we've got to keep in mind there. And then to me, it's looking at our feed resources, balancing that with the needs of our cow herd, and can we make that really balance well for what the overall cow herd's going to need, both from a grazed forage resource standpoint and harvest forage resource standpoint as well.
Great information, great things to think about. We're going to have a great show today. Dr. Jason Warner, we'll be right back after these messages.
DNA Dialogue is brought to you by Identity Beef, powered by Neogen.
I think that probably the most important trait for any commercial producer to think about when they're doing genetic selection is stayability. So stayability is how long do we expect a cow to stay in the herd, right? Our economist friends tell us that a cow has to reach this age of about 6 years old before she becomes profitable. So in that case, right, she's recouped the costs of her development, she's recouped her annual maintenance costs, and only then does that cow start to be profitable. The good news about stayability is that it's genetically heritable, right? It's one of these lowly heritable traits, so somewhere between 10 and 20% heritable, but it's probably one of the most important economic traits to a commercial cow herd. So if we can find bulls that will make cows that stay in our herd longer, we ultimately are a more profitable operation. So stayability is the most important trait for a commercial cow herd to keep their eye on.
I feel the use of genomics for cattle producers will be more widespread than we're seeing it now. I think we're just in the beginning stages of it. I think a lot of people just see the side of the replacement females and increasing the predictability and future use of your females, because we all know the cost that it takes to develop those into a cow. The large side of it that folks miss out on is the use of genomics to predict the product that they're making every year, and in that I mean their calves. The feed yards are constantly after a more predictable product, a more predictable days on feed, a more predictable outcome on the rail. Through genomics, we're able to accomplish a lot faster what used to take multiple generations.
Identity Beef. Contact your Neogen territory manager to test today. Bovolus Nasalgen 3 offers young calves unrivaled protection against devastating respiratory diseases, including IBR, PI3, and BRSV. And it has a unique blue shadow, so there's no second guessing which animals have been vaccinated. To up your protection, choose Bovolus Nasalgen 3 PMH, the first and only intranasal that protects against viral and bacterial pneumonia. Talk to your veterinarian and visit nasalgen.com to learn more.
When the ones who have your heart need your help, count on us for everything they deserve, delivered fast. We'll work hard for you so you can work hard for your dreams.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thompson with Dr. Jason Warner. He is the cow-calf extension specialist for the state of Kansas here at Kansas State University. Tremendous resource for you if you have cow-calf operations and beyond. He's got feedlot experience as well. But when we're retaining these heifers, Jason, talk to me a little bit about, what kind of programs we're going to start out putting them in.
Big thing that we got to keep in mind is, can we develop these females regardless of how we're going to do it? If it's going to be in a typical extensive grazing situation, if we turn those females out and let them grow and develop after weaning up until the time of breeding, or if we're going to maybe feed those females in a total mixed ration situation, maybe a dry lot type of a situation, however that looks for you, is okay, how big are these females at weaning time? What's our target weight that we're going to develop them to at that first service at the start of the breeding season, and understanding, okay, what kind of gain do we need to have them on during that time of the year? I think that's really critical. Sounds real simple, but it's a lot of things. It's one thing I think a lot of producers can, generally speaking, overlook, and maybe we don't pay close enough attention to. I think in the past, there's been a lot of information and data that would suggest that getting those heifers up to maybe 65, 66% of their mature weight. Expected mature weight at first breeding is where we need to have those females be from a weight standpoint in order to have a high percentage of them cycling and a high percentage get bred in that first service. But there's more recent data over the last 10 to 15 years that would suggest that where these heifers are maybe hitting maturity and puberty a little bit earlier than what they have in the past, maybe we don't necessarily have to develop those heifers quite so big. And so I think you got to understand where your cow herd is from a weight standpoint and see what's an appropriate target frame for you to be at. And really it comes back to developing your program such that you can put the weight on those females and do it in a least cost manner. Because right now, if a replacement heifer, if she's maybe gonna have a value of $1,400, $1,500, maybe $1,600 a head just in her initial cost, her value.
Yep.
But if we've got $600, $700 of development costs in her from the time now until we get her to this point next year, that's a sizable initial bill that we've got on that female. And so it goes back to just knowing what our feed resources are, trying to make a smart decision with that, try to keep our cost as low as we can, but yet make sure that we're developing those heifers right so that they hit puberty at the right time and that they're cycling at a proper percentage as they go into that first breeding season.
And we're seeing bigger and bigger cows.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
so as the cows get bigger and our fed cattle are bigger going to slaughter.
Yep.
We're just dealing with some bigger animals, and so what you may have thought your cows weighed might not be what they weigh.
Absolutely. It's having a really good handle on what that actual mature weight base is of your cow herd is really critical when we come in to start making these decisions. We can really kind of drive that needle one way or the other. I've seen some situations where folks have, we've developed those heifers maybe too big. Maybe we've put too much daily gain on them going into the breeding season, and taking it the other way too. We know that we've got to make sure that we're bringing them along quick enough as well too. So things we got to keep in mind.
Great information on how to grow those heifers and points in time along the way getting them bred. We're going to come back to Dr. Warner here after these messages. You're watching DocTalk, and we're sure glad you joined us.
In the livestock industry, castration is a common practice to ensure proper herd management. All methods are painful, regardless of the age of the animal. At Solvit, we could not ignore the clear industry need for better castration solutions. So we developed LidoBand, a novel lidocaine-impregnated elastrator, addressing the pain associated with band castration. It provides local anesthesia throughout the castration process. LidoBand, a small device that can make a big difference.
The cost of an open cow these days is very expensive. It's hard at times to dedicate a half a day or a whole day to leave your practice to go palpate cows. And so Alertus Test has helped speed the process up of getting preg rates back to the owners. And so free up time for diagnostics or working in your clinic. It also will help generate revenue, not being on site to do the testing.
When the ones who have your heart need your help, count on us for everything they deserve, delivered fast. We'll work hard for you so you can work hard for your dreams.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thompson here with Dr. Jason Warner. He is the cow-calf extension specialist for the state of Kansas. Big job, a lot of cows here, a lot of great producers that I'm sure are extremely excited to have you here to work with, especially with your knowledge base. You spend a lot of time in industry. It's not one of those things that you just learned it from a book. You've been out doing it.
Right. And seeing a lot of different types of operations, approaches that folks can take with not only their cow herds, but their operations and their businesses in general. And that's one of the best ways to learn.
Yep,
absolutely.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about managing those heifers around the time of breeding and some of the things you're looking out for and making sure people do so we can keep those heifers bred.
Well, we talk a little bit about and talked previously about, developing those females up to a proper percentage of their mature weight going into that first service, that first breeding time. But one thing that I think is important is we want to make sure that we're not, changing our program, whether that's a total mixed ration program or a supplementation program, so quickly where we're really changing plan of nutrition on those females really quickly, going right ahead into the breeding season, maybe the last, 3 weeks to 4 weeks ahead of that breeding season, and taking those females in a negative plan of nutrition. We know that is important because that can certainly have some ramifications on overall maternal recognition and pregnancy, and for that embryo to really conceive and make sure we don't have any early abortions or anything like that. But then also too, one thing that we want to keep in mind with folks is that oftentimes, especially with folks, if they're developing those females, say through the fall and winter months in a dry lot situation or in a pen fed situation, and then all of a sudden, if we're breeding them in April or May, we're getting ready to go out to grass, right? Because grass is starting to come on at that point. Okay, if we make the decision we're going to turn those females out, how quickly can we do that from the time when we AI them, if that's what our program is? Can we experience some unintended, maybe early embryonic loss or failure to conceive there in some of those situations by turning those females out, because all of a sudden now they've got to go out and exercise and hustle for their forage, hustle for their groceries. But then also too, their plan of nutrition may not be staying with them, depending on what the forage quality base is relative to what they were developed on. So those are some key things I think we always want to be thinking about. Is do we maybe need to think about supplementing those females more gradually at the start of the breeding season, especially
You mean like leading up or coming out?
Right, leading up to the start of that breeding season, and then maybe for the first 2 or 3 weeks after the start of that breeding season, especially if we're going to turn those females out. And certainly if we're going from a pretty high plan of nutrition down to a low plan of nutrition, depending on where forage quality is, that's certainly something to keep in mind, depending on weight and body condition of those females. So
and just saving 2
right
from being aborted is worth all the supplement
absolutely
that you're going to put out
absolutely
with these prices and the way things are in this market.
Right. And the other part of it too is we want folks to be thinking about, okay, when you're to this stage of development on these females, if you've got some females that if you run a shorter breeding season anyway, your overall conception rates on that particular group of females might be a little bit shorter if you only breed them for 40 days, right? So those females that you don't get pregnant during that time period, are they a benefit for you when it comes to selling them later on as a yearling, be able to recoup that cost?
Absolutely. Well, answer to that is yes. We will take them all right now.
Right. Certainly with the pen space that we're going to have, there's going to be a need for those big heifers. Yep.
Folks, it's been a great show. We have one more segment. We're very thankful to have Dr. Jason Warner. We'll be right back.
We are a start to finish yard, bring them in at 500 pounds and finish them out to 14 to 1,500 pounds. Max capacity is about 15,000. We begin with the end in mind, which that means it starts from day one coming off the truck. Heard all sorts of stuff about the generics coming out from a few different companies here and there, but we started working with Bimeda. What I like about working with Bimeda is our rep. He seems like he's just one of us. He knows, he's been in the cattle feeding industry for a long time. He understands where we're coming from, what goes on in the feed yard. So we started implementing Macrocin last July, and we're using it as our first pole treatment. The data shows that the success rates on BRD, they're equivalent to the other macrolites that we were using. We just feel fortunate enough, I guess, to get our hands on it, and it works great for us for a first pole treatment. It's what really jumped out to us working with Bimeda, meeting with the rep. Macrocin's affordable. We finally got a product that everybody can afford. We try to do the little things right, whether it's from low stress cattle handling, animal welfare, how we work with the cattle every single day. That's something we really focus on, but when you've got a product like a Macrocin, it's just another assurance protecting you, controlling your BRD from what stressors are thrown out there or what Mother Nature is going to bring to you. This industry, it takes everybody, whether it's working with the nutritionist, it's cowboys working with the veterinarians, everybody plays a part, and we expect them to do their jobs, but also we expect, you know, the drugs or what we put into the cattle to do their job too. And I think these Bimeda products, they're proving that they're doing the job for us.
When a new calf hits the ground, the clock starts ticking. A belly full of colostrum gives them their best chance, but if they don't get any, time starts running out. That's when you grab a bag of Oxford Ag Colostrum in their patented feeding system. It's simple. You fill it with warm water, shake it to mix, feed it with a tube or a nipple, and you are done. No bucket, no bottle, no mess, and right on time. Ask for it by name wherever animal health supplies are sold.
When the ones who have your heart need your help, count on us for everything they deserve, delivered fast. We'll work hard for you so you can work hard for your dreams.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thompson here with Dr. Jason Warner, and Dr. Warner is the cow-calf extension specialist for Kansas, and it's a big state with a lot of cows and a lot of good producers, and he's a tremendous success, and very thankful to have you here.
Well, appreciate the opportunity. It's great to visit with you as always. Lots of good topics and ideas going on in the industry right now, and lots of things we can always cover. And unfortunately, we just don't have time for all of it.
That's right. You got to prioritize.
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about, we talked about turnout on those heifers after we AI. Transporting and low stress cattle handling is probably pretty important too.
It really is. It really is, because we know that stress can inherently interfere with the ability for those females to conceive. That's an important consideration. Lots of folks, depending on how they're structured, with where they're maybe developing those females, where their corrals and their pens are, where they're going to be breeding, if they're going to AI, and if they're going to be breeding those females and hauling them out to grass right away at the start of the summer or late spring, depending on when that time frame is. There's some evidence there that stress right around the time of maternal recognition and pregnancy, anywhere from about day 12 out to maybe day 18 or so after insemination, when that occurs, that can certainly decrease or hinder pregnancy rates, and that's something we want folks to be keeping in mind. So, good practice, good recommendation is, if you're going to be breeding these females, try to get them moved if you AI them. Okay, let's say you do a fixed time AI on them, get them moved within that first 7 days, maybe 8 days or so up prior to that point. Try to do your transport. If you're going to be hauling those females, putting them on a trailer and hauling them, if you're going to be moving them, try to do it at that point. Otherwise, if you get into that window, if you're going to be much past about 10 days or so, 10 days to maybe 2 weeks, you want to avoid doing a lot of handling with those females if you don't necessarily have to do that. So waiting at that point, if management will allow you to do that, it's something to keep in mind.
It's so important. And so we get them transported. We've either kicked them out on grass, taken them to wherever it is we're going to winter them, or summer pasture or whatever. What are some of the things that you're thinking about with maintaining these heifers between now and having that first calf?
They still got a growth requirement, Dr. Thompson, and that's one thing we got to keep in mind, is that those females are going to continue to grow out at least till they're about age 3 to 4.
Yeah.
So that, that first year, when they're a year and a half, coming up to 2 years of age, those females are still growing. Most times we don't think about a lot of summertime supplementation outside of salt and mineral, because protein and energy is usually there. But if we get into a situation of forage quality and quantity is limiting, really need to be watching body condition score on those females. Last 90 days, 120 days prior to the start of calving. It's going to be really important for us. Make sure that we're keeping body condition at acceptable rate, and on those females, mature females, we usually want to see them be at a body condition score 5 or better at calving. First calf females, we want them to be at a body condition score 6. The data would say on average that's where we need to have them be. So we got to be thinking about our supplementation late gestation, coming into that time period. That's going to be really critical for us. they're still growing. We got to keep all those things in mind.
And it may not be as that you don't get a live calf, but they don't rebreed.
Right.
I mean, that can be part of it, correct?
That's exactly right. Yeah. So that early embryonic loss, there's different time periods where that can occur, certainly, right?
Yeah.
And so we got to be keeping all those things in mind. Absolutely. Yep.
Sure.
Yep.
Well, you've certainly given us a lot of good information today, and I appreciate your time. I know you're busy.
Well, thanks for having me. Absolutely. It's a joy to visit with you. You bet.
Likewise.
You bet.
Folks, Dr. Jason Warner. Thanks for watching DocTalk. Remember, if you want to find out what we do at DocTalk, you can find us on the web at www.doctalktv.com. Always work with your local veterinarian and local nutritionist. And with Dr. Jason Warner, I'm Dr. Dan Thompson, and we'll see you down the road.
At Merck Animal Health, we're shaping the future of animal health with pioneering science, connected technology, and insights-driven solutions to bring our customers an unparalleled portfolio of choices to improve cattle care and operational efficiency. We support you and your legacy by helping you meet the challenges of today with the innovations of tomorrow.